What is up, YouTube? Welcome back, Aeneas here. Today is the day of the release of the new Dominar United set, and people have just been playing the pre-release event for the streamers and early access and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to make a quick video about what's been working, what's been doing well, what cards seem pretty strong in the new meta, and maybe some cards that you should craft because they seem like they're going to be used a lot. So yeah, let's take a look at those and see what's working. So the first card, surprise surprise, Cut Down, has been very good. Everyone's been trying that in their decks. It's been very strong. People have to pick their creatures in their decks based on this card. Seems like it's the new default go-to 1 mana removal spell. So if you've got black in your deck, you probably should be having a couple of these in your deck. Alright, next up we have the Evolved Sleeper. This isn't good in every black deck, but if you have like a black aggressive deck that has some tempo play to it, this card has been seeming pretty good. Just the ability to make it a 2/2 for 1 mana is pretty good. It's on rate and you can kind of do it at instant speed, surprise the opponent. So you don't lose much for including this in a black aggressive deck, and the upside is pretty steep. So yeah, it's definitely a solid card. The other card that's been doing quite well, Jodah. Surprisingly, it seems like even though the mana got worse, 5 color is still a viable deck option, and a lot of the new domain cards have been doing pretty well, but Jodah in particular has been doing really well. Just being able to get that cascade type effect, getting that pump, that buff for all your legendary creatures is really solid. So expect to see some sort of 5-color domain legendary style deck coming up in the future with Jodah in it. But yeah, really solid. So if that's what you like, so you find fun, maybe you played the 5-color Niv deck before, then you might look into crafting Jodah and trying that out because he seems pretty solid. And I'm sure as the new sets come out, it's just going to get even better. So yeah, Jodah is sweet. Along with that, or even in different style decks, the Ley Line Binding has been really good. If you have any deck with 3 colors in it, including white, you might consider putting this card in there. Just getting, the binding for 3 mana instant speed because it's got flash. It's been pretty solid. Not that much enchantment removal in the set right now, so Ley Line Binding is very solid and a good rate. So that's a craft on that one. That one's really good. All right, Lilia The Veil. This card has been very, I would say, polarizing, very medium. In the right deck, it is very strong, but in the wrong decks, it has been very weak. People have been cutting it. So this one, I would say don't craft it, but if you have a deck that can really play off the discard, then this card has been good for that. It's been pretty strong for that. So yeah, Lilia The Veil. I mean, a lot of people hyped it up. I think it's a little bit less than the hype, but still interesting card in the right decks. So keep an eye on that one. Alright, next one is Phoenix Chick. So maybe you didn't expect this, but a 1 mana flying haster has been doing pretty well. You can bring it back later in the game when you have attackers. This has been mostly showing up in mono red decks. A lot of people have been trying mono red with Play with Fire and Lightning Strike and stuff like that. And it seems like in that deck the Phoenix Chick is the truth. So if you're a big mono red fan, or maybe Gruul aggro, something like that, you might try to add some Phoenix Chick into your deck. And it's only uncommon, so nice. Alright, next one, Soul of Windgrace. This fits into a pretty interesting Jund deck with kind of playing on the domain type stuff and using things like the Gix Saga and a few other things to just kind of go wide and get tons of mana and ramp super hard, and you can do stuff with your extra lands that you draw with Soul of Windgrace. So It's been seeming pretty solid so far. Basically, if it lives for a couple turns, you just kind of run away with the game. So definitely a solid card. Very interesting play around. Yeah, Soul of Windgrace. Alright, besides that, we have Dubious Monarch. This little guy has been showing itself pretty strong in black-red decks, mono-red decks, anything that has red, basically. This guy's pretty good. So it attacks with haste, creates a 1/1. You can bring it back later in the game. Yeah, just a solid 3-drop. That gives you some value late game, basically kind of like extra card draw late game. So very, very cool, very strong. Will be scary for those control players, for sure. So yeah, Squee is good. Alright, I mentioned it earlier, but Cruelty of Gigs, this saga has been doing pretty well. This is kind of like the... we had a saga a while back that did something similar where it would make opponent discard and then you'd reanimate like a planeswalker or creature with the last part. So pretty similar. Target opponent discards a creature or planeswalker, then you find a card that you need, and then you can return a creature. So this saw play in a lot with the Soul of Windgrace that we saw before. Basically, you can find him from your deck on the second part if you don't have him in your hand. Kind of make sure you always get him, and the rest of it is just value. So kind of a 3-for-1 if you think about it. You make them discard a card, you find a card from your deck, and you reanimate a creature. So you're getting 3 things for 1 spell that you cast. So very solid card for sure. Another surprise card that's been doing well, Zur Eternal Schemer. If you saw my honorable mention list, you saw that I also made a Zur deck for enchantments. So Zur seems to be real. Playing him on turn 5 and making a creature, pretty solid. Especially if you got the enchantment removal like the Ley Line or something like that. You can surprise people with a ton of damage, and life gain and death touch and hexproof. So yeah, if they don't have a good sweeper, then you just can win the game with this basically. So pretty solid guy. Definitely think there's a viable deck with Zur in there. Alright, and that's it. So that's the wrap up of the cards that have been seeming really strong so far. Of course, everyone's just been playing their pet decks or things that they are interested in most. Lots of Rakdos, lots of mono red, Jund, and Jodah decks, mostly on the ladder. So yeah. These are ones I think are pretty safe to cross. If you see them in any of the decks that you were wanting to build or try out, I would say that these are very strong so far. Good first showing. Anyway, that's it for today's video, and let me know what you think. Any other cards you've been having lots of success with that have been doing well for you. Let me know in the comments, and we'll have to build some decks around some of these cards and maybe some of the ones you recommend. So let me know, and hope to see you on the ladder. Till later. See ya.